Hello soul lovers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nelo and you are watching Nelo Stitches. Today's tutorial is going to be on a corset top with a bra cup. I'll be showing you the easiest way you can draft your corset. If you have been finding it difficult to make a corset tube, this tutorial is going to be very helpful to you. So keep watching. If you're new to my channel, please hit on the subscribe button below and subscribe. And if you're returning subscribers, thank you so much for always checking on this channel. Thank you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share also with your fellow soulmates. And without further ado, let's start. So for this corset, I used 1.5 yard. Okay, a leftover fabric I think is about 1.5 or thereabouts. Okay, so here I'm marking my shoulder divided by 2, which is 8, and here I'm going to mark my armhole 8.5, my bust point 11, my under bust is 14.5, and then the length of this top is 18, and then what I have left is 1/2 inch, which is the sewing allowance. Okay, so I'm going to connect this is the chest line, this other point is the bust line, and here is the under bust, and here is the length of the top. It's a crop top. Okay, so chest line, bust, under bust, and full length. Okay, so now next I'm going to mark my shoulder divided by 2 on this chest line, so I can get a straight line for my armhole. Okay, so I'm marking my neck width of 3 inches, and then I slant my shoulder by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect the shoulder slant like this. Okay, just a basic neck. We are just drafting a basic body. It's not that I'm going to be using it, but just for a guide, especially for beginners among us. Okay, so here I'm going to mark my bust divided by 4 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. My bust is 39 divided by 4 is 9.75. So here I'm going to get the midpoint of this line, and I'll go in by 1/2 inch to connect my armhole. So I'm going to curve my armhole like this. Like I said earlier, we are not going to use this, but just for formality, so that beginners will understand better. Okay, so having done this, next I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 4. Okay, divide by 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, so I'm marking 4 here right now, and I'm going to connect like so. Okay, so after connecting this, I'm going to mark 0.75 on both sides of the dart leg. 0.75, that will make it 1.5 inch of dart intake. Okay, 0.75. If you have a bigger size, you can use 1 inch, and if you're a small size, you can use 1/2 inch. So I'm a medium size, so I'm using 0.75. Okay, so note that that ends at the under bust. It didn't get to the bust line. Okay, so on the center front here at the chest line, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch inward, and I'll do the same thing on the bust line, 1/2 inch inward, and I'm going to connect that with a straight line like so. So after this, now I'm going to take all my measurements. I'll be taking my bust divided by 4, my under bust divided by 4, my waist divided by 4. So I've already marked the bust here. I'm going to use that one, and here on the under bust, I'll mark my under bust divided by 4, which is 8.25. So my under bust is 33 divided by 4 is 8.25, and to that I'm going to add 1 inch for sewing allowance. And at the waist, at the full length, I'm going to use my waist measurement divided by 4 plus the dart intake of 1.5 inch, and then 1 inch for sewing allowance. Okay, so the length stops at my waist. That is why I'm using my waist measurement. Okay, so now I'm going to connect all my points together like this, and after this we are going to introduce the corset. We are done drafting our basic body. Okay, so for the corset cup, my bust is 39, but I used bra cup of 40. Okay, because I want it to cover. I don't want it to be too revealing, even though it didn't cover very well. On the sewing tutorial, you're going to see how it looks, the fitting. So you place your cup like so, making sure it's sitting on the underbust and touching the half-inch line we marked inside like this. Okay, make sure it's touching this half-inch we marked inward like this, and it should sit on your underbust. It should not exceed underbust. It should sit on your underbust, and then you're going to connect like this. Don't press the bra cup, just hold it a little bit so that you'll be able to trace it, but don't press the cup. Okay, and you extend this outward like so, and also this point at the bra cup end, you extend it outside also. Okay, so you're going to be connecting this like this. Okay, and this one ends here. Okay, so now you're going to mark half-inch inward for sewing allowance. You can decide not to mark half-inch here. You can decide to add it on your fabric, but I prefer doing this because sometimes I forget and I'll have a wide mouth, if I may use that word, bra cup. Okay, the space will be too wide, it will not fit the bra cup anymore, and I have to start drafting another one. Okay, so it's better you add your sewing allowance inward like this so that you will not forget. And after marking this half-inch, you're going to connect like so. Okay, you just connect like so, and when you get to this point, you extend it outward to meet up with this other line like this. Okay, so we are done with our corset. Now I'm going to cut this out, and don't cut on your second line, cut on the the second line you mark. Don't cut on the first line. Okay, that is our sewing allowance. Okay, now we are going to draft the back panel. We are through with the front panel. I'm going to use this front panel to trace out the back panel. So I'm going to draw a straight line there to serve as a guideline or a starting point. Okay, so I'll draw a straight line here like so. Okay, so after drawing this line, I realized it was not enough. As you can see, the side of my pattern is coming out, which means I need to draw another line. Okay, so I'll just bring this inward to be sure of where to mark the other line. So I'll just mark it here. Okay, so please ignore this other line, ignore this line, is a mistake. Okay, so you're going to place your pattern like this, and then you start tracing. You should use needle, pin, to hold this so that it will not be shifting. Okay, so you just trace out the shape of this front panel on your pattern paper. Okay, so you just trace it out, trace everything. Do not add any allowance, do not remove anything, just trace exactly what you are seeing, what you have on your front panel. Okay, and you also trace this point also. Okay, so now you're going to remove your paper and you connect to meet this line like so. So right now, if you're using a zipper, you add your zipper allowance. Ignore this line, okay? So you add your zipper allowance from that other line I marked, okay? From this point, you mark your 1 inch or 1.5 inch, whatever inch you're using for your allowance you're using for your zipper. That is what you're going to mark, and you connect with a straight line, okay? You connect like this, and you connect, okay? So but I'm not making use of a zipper. I want to lace this corset. Okay, so I'll be cutting on this particular line here. Okay, I'll be cutting on that exact line. And guys, remember to mark your dart, your 4 inches dart, or your nipple to nipple divide by 2, whatever it is 7 6. Remember to mark it before you cut out your reduce your back for the lacing. Okay, I actually forgot to do that, so I used the front panel to be able to trace out the dart. Okay, so remember to mark your dart before you cut out the excess you need to remove for your lacing. So on this chest line here, okay, at the top here, I'm going to mark 2 inches inward, and for at the hem I'm going to use 1 inch. Okay, so I'll connect with a straight line like this. You connect them together like this. Okay, so this is what I have, and I'll cut this out. I forgot to mark my darts before cutting this out, so remember to do that and cut this out like so. Okay, and then I used the front panel to trace out the dart. So this is how I'm going to use the front panel to trace out the dart. Okay, so I'll just mark on the dart. Okay, make sure that the two sides align together, but I've told you what to do, so don't make the same mistake I made, so that you won't have that to go through the stress of doing this. Okay, so I just use the side here, this side here, to make sure my dart is in order, and then I'll connect with a straight line upwards. So that is how I marked my dart. Okay, so I took it all up, and then I mark half an inch on both sides. I used 1 inch for my dart, half an inch on both sides of the dart, half inch here, half inch here, and I'll connect that 1 inch below the shoulder line like this. Okay, so this is what we have. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please like this video. I beg, like the video and share, and I will see you guys on Tuesday for the sewing tutorial. Bye.